with my grandpa, Dan Trammell. He is a retired Lockheed employee, also worked at Kelly Paint, and he's just living his life in retirement. So I'm pretty sure he has a lot of gems to give to you guys. Let's clap it up for Dan Trammell.
Get rich or die. 2013 Jay-Z without the suit and tie. Elevation requires separation. I remove the I, delete the MENT. No more you and I.
Hi everybody.
So
Randall, thanks for having me here.
Thanks for coming. I really do appreciate it. And let's just start from the beginning. So let's talk about your upbringing.
Small town upbringing. Was born in in Yuba City, California. I'm a native Californian. Lived in a small town close to that called Terabue Buena.
Okay.
And really lived in the small towns until I moved to San Jose in the 60s, and lived there for 20 plus years, where I did my career. And then when we retired, we moved to the Central Valley. So essentially that.
So how long would you say, Lockheed, you were there for how many years?
35 years.
35 years. And what made you choose that career?
Well, I had an interest in photography. I took a photography class when I was in high school, and liked taking pictures, how you take pictures of your friends and stuff. And when I got into college, I wanted to take journalism.
Okay.
It was a journalism class, and it turned out that it was like a yearbook kind of thing, and a college newspaper. And I really wanted to write, but I actually turned out being more interested in the photo part of it.
Right.
They had a little dark room there. So what I had learned in high school, I just applied to that. The advisor for that class was a professional photographer, so he taught me a lot of stuff.
Right.
And then that kind of spawned into, when I got out of college, then it was like, what am I going to do? And I wanted to stay in that field if I could, and I was really lucky. I met some people, knew some people who helped me get on at Lockheed in the photo lab.
Nice. So I just have a random question. Back then, taking pictures compared to now, what's your thoughts on that? Like how the technology has progressed, and cause I'm pretty sure it was like a whole different process to being a photographer then to where it is now.
Well, yeah, in the beginning it was. I'd have to say that because of the number of years I spent in photography, we actually experienced in a way, because Lockheed was what they called a deep pockets company. It had a lot of money. They actually helped pioneer digital photography for industrial uses and stuff. So yeah, big changes when I went to work there. Everything was shot in film, and hand processing, just a lot of that type, like we were using large format cameras. And as time went on and technology got better with cameras and film, then we started getting into medium format cameras, and in some applications 35 millimeter cameras.
Nice.
And then I guess it was in the 80s, 90s, started getting into digital photography.
Nice.
And we helped Kodak prototype some of the early digital cameras.
Nice.
So we got, like all of it. And eventually Lockheed went away from film processing, chemical processing, and went into full digital. Nice. So there was no chemistry at all.
So in your journey to, becoming the person you are today, was there ever a point that you felt you're drifting or going down a wrong path? And if so, what was your turning point to becoming on the path you're on now?
Well, I was young, and I think probably immature for my age, and I made a lot of bad decisions. I wanted to identify with certain groups, be accepted in certain circles, and they weren't necessarily the right circles. So it kind of came down to ultimately, who you choose as your friends and how you align yourself with that. And
Jackpot.
And I made some bad decisions. I think the saving grace, I guess I want to go on with that because it not only affected me, but it affected other people. And I had failed marriages. And I think that had a lot to do with the decisions that I made and the direction that I was in. But one thing after I got out of college and into the working environment, the constant for me was my job and then the people that I was working with, a whole different crowd. They were professionals and they were, some of them young like me, trying to figure it all out, trying to learn the trade. And it kind of changed my focus. And then seeing how other people lived and conducted themselves, that helped me make changes for the positive.
All right. Would you say that you had a mentor that kind of guided you to that change, or just collectively just seeing the whole environment, everyone better than themselves?
Well, I think in part, yeah, just, seeing how other people conducted themselves. But there were people that became friends, and they took, I guess, extra time with me.
Right.
They taught me, they just took an interest.
Right.
And just in the friendship and just, like passing the time sometimes when it was slow, we would have conversation, and I just kind of gleaned a lot from them and learned a lot. So there were people
right.
who, when they took the time, I was able to take advantage of that.
So how important is personal development to you? And how important is it for men to realize that they need to continue to grow and to develop themselves?
Well, I think it's the essential in getting through life,
right.
For one thing. And you don't want to sit still in life. Mm. You want to move forward. You want to better yourself. And I think that, like part of what we talked about the other day was kind of like looking at your day and trying to be better tomorrow.
Right.
See what you did right, what you did wrong today, and try to improve on that.
All right. That's a good way to look at it. Take one day at a time and always look forward and forgive yourself and move forward.
Forgive yourself. Don't judge yourself, and don't let other people judge you.
Right.
Don't let other people tell you that you're not good enough for something, that you won't make it. You really, a lot of people, maybe they don't intend to, but they make you have doubts, self-doubts. And it's really important not to have self-doubt, to really have a belief in yourself.
Because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will.
That's true. Like that in today's world,
yeah.
You can't rely on anybody but yourself. Mm. And if you're lucky, you do have those people that take interest and really take advantage of that.
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, your dating status and let's go with that.
My dating status?
Yeah, dating status.
Well, I haven't dated in a long time.
Okay, you're married.
I've been married for almost 40 years.
Married for almost 40 years.
And then we lived together for 2 years prior to that. So my wife and I have been together for 42 years.
Hi, Nana.
And we were we were friends before that because, like we worked in the same organization. So, I didn't, not a whole lot of dating, like in the last 42 years. So,
so it's a hard thing to be married for a long time. And that's what, we're trying to bring that back. Voice Men, we believe in marriage, and we're trying to help men, find wives and bring that unity back, because the way I see it, in 100 years, there might not, a lot of people don't want to get married no more. So, like, when I interview people, I like to talk about that, especially with people who are married. So, do you have any advice for the people who do want to get married, or, or in relationships or seeking relationships but have doubts because of the way the world is today?
Oh, that's a tough question. I first of all, I believe in marriage. I think that, we'll start with that.
Right.
And I think that it's worth it, but it's not easy. And a lot of marriages fail because people are looking for perfection in their partner, and they put pressure on themselves to be perfect in the relationship. And a lot of people, when they start out together, they're not always compatible. Like you meet somebody, you like them, maybe there's a physical appeal, there are a lot of things that draw you to a person, but those aren't necessarily things that will sustain you for years and years and years. In fact, Anita and I were talking about that this morning. That you think that if a couple will live together for a couple of years and they figured each other out and they learned things from of one another, that would be the basis of, then the next step would be marriage. And it would be a good, successful marriage. And that's really not the case. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but I think if you're in that position and you're not married, you really need to look at the things in a person that you may not, you're not compatible with maybe, or habits that kind of annoy you.
Right.
You have to ask yourself the question, can I live with this for the rest of my life? And, like most people, because they're so into the relationship and the other aspects of it, they go, oh, sure, I can do that.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy. There's a lot of learning, a lot of finding things in common, and then a lot of good, honest dialogue, talking to each other and working through stuff.
Right.
But I think the failures that I experienced when I was younger, because I was married twice before.
Right.
And I think part of the motivation for me was not wanting to fail again and not wanting to repeat that. And Anita was a really good influence on me. Introduced me to a lot of things that I would not ordinarily thought of.
Right.
And really helped me progress. And I think that, there were things that I offered her too. And that's kind of, and just not giving up when things get really, really difficult.
Yeah, I think that's a key component, is like being able to push your partner and bring out his better characteristics while you bring out her better characteristics.
Well, I think people see things in other people that they don't see in themselves. And sometimes it's potential, sometimes it's false.
Right.
And, and how you bring those things out and how you do that in a constructive way as opposed to a destructive way.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been retired for how long?
I retired in the first time in 2001.
See, I didn't know that was the first time.
I knew you retired. How old were you in 2000?
I was 18 in 2005. So I knew you retired once, and you're waiting for Nana to retire, right? And that's why you're working at Kelly?
Yeah, and I wasn't old enough for Social Security and some of the benefits that, I had set a goal for myself when I went to work. that I was going to retire early,
Right.
and I did that.
Right.
But in terms of stability financially, it wasn't. The timing wasn't exactly right.
Right.
But it wasn't bad because I did have savings and things like that. But Anita, because she was still working, like carried me on her insurance and things like that. So that wasn't bad. But at some point, she was going to retire, and we need to kind of situate ourselves. So I decided after a couple of years of retirement to go back.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had moved to Manteca.
So you went back to Lucky? Or
No.
That's when you went back to just work?
No, we had moved to Manteca.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I decided I wanted to go back to work.
Okay.
And I had a job as a counselor in a group home for 8 or 9 months.
How was that?
That was a challenging experience. It was a real eye-opening experience.
And we say group home, you mean like boys or just mixed? Co-ed?
Boys.
Boys?
And they were what they call behaviorally challenged. And they were kids that...
For the people who don't know, what is behavioral challenge?
Well, it can be a lot of different things. They could have been abused.
Okay.
But essentially acting out.
Okay. Not like autism or something. You mean like they're just kind of troubled?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did say behaviorally, right?
Yeah, but I'm just trying to...
Okay.
You're right. I'm just making sure that I'm following. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I want to make sure I didn't say the wrong thing there. No,
like,
they
troubled
didn't...
kids.
Troubled kids, yeah.
That's like a big behavioral challenge. I'm like, wait, does that mean like...
Well, that was
they don't know how to behave?
That was a technical term for it, but... But they had problems. They couldn't live at home with their parents for a lot of reasons.
Right.
A lot of them were abandoned and or left to their own devices because the parents were out doing their own thing. The other was they didn't make it in foster homes.
Okay.
But they weren't so bad that they had to go to juvenile hall or something like that. They lived in a controlled environment, but they weren't incarcerated.
Right.
And it was basically then supporting them, trying to help them in any way that you could, but in still being responsible, disciplined, things like that.
Would you say that was more stressful or rewarding?
I think it was both.
Both.
It was stressful because they acted out a lot. You got tried out a lot. And so it was kind of like, in some cases, a battle of wills, who was going to win out will-wise. But when you're in the position of authority and you can hand out consequences, and then it kind of puts you in a more controlling situation. But the rewards were the appreciation that a lot of them showed you, and the rewards were them taking things to heart. So and there were psychologists that we worked with, so there was a lot of help there. It wasn't just a person. Like we were kind of babysitters in a way, but we also had to work with the other aspects of it.
Right.
But we had help with that.
Nice. So you did that for 8 or 9 months.
8 or 9 months, and that was a grave shift situation. I would come in at 10 o'clock at night, and they were going to bed, and it was my responsibility to make sure that they stayed in bed, that they were supervised at night, kept logs, administered medications and things like that. And they were all in school. Some of them were in public school. Some of them were in a private school. It was owned by the people who ran the houses.
Okay.
So basically making sure that they were ready in the morning before school. So I was making lunches and, making sure everything was cleaned up for them in the morning. And then we would do wellness checks in the morning and in the evening. But in the morning, principally to start out the day.
And then after that, you went to...
Yeah, that was difficult for me. It affected my home life because I was coming home at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to bed, and I would sleep for 3 or 4 hours, get up for 3 or 4 hours, go back to bed for 3 or 4 hours, and then get up and go to work. And it really, it affected my relationship with Juanita and my...
Not an ideal retirement situation.
No, and it was stressful too. Just seeing kids struggle like that. I didn't want to escape it, but you really feel helpless sometimes with that. But the better option, and there were opportunities to find other work, and I did find other work. That's when I went to work at Kellymore Paint.
Yeah.
That was a regular day shift kind of job.
Like a happy job.
Happy job. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was. That was during that big housing boom, so there was a lot of activity and really kept busy. But I had a home life.
Nice. So, how long have you been officially tired? Like not working anywhere? When was that day?
Well, I left Kellymore in June of 2009, and went to Social Security because I was eligible then, and that's when I felt like I was officially retired. I officially retired from Lockheed, but then I
officially
retired.
Yeah.
7 years later.
So how did that feel to because a lot of people don't retire, so we're not really taught save your money, do this, and then at the very end, I know people who can't retire or who are getting less than they're getting at the when they're working. So I'd like to ask people, tips and tricks to start now while they're young. And just advice on how to get there. And since you've already retired, what are your, how do I or the people listening get to a good retirement? Because to me, you have a great retirement. You guys are doing pretty well.
Well, I think we were lucky.
Right.
And what I mean by that is because we both worked for a company that helped you create your retirement. Right. Nowadays, companies don't offer you retirement benefits because it affects their bottom line.
Right.
So
if you're going to work a job, you need to make sure that it has a retirement package.
Yeah. Well, that's what you want to look for, but that's really hard to find, I think, these days. Right. There are still companies that do it, but it's not their responsibility. It's your responsibility. Your retirement and your future is in your hands.
Right.
And if you're lucky enough to, or fortunate enough to get into that kind of a situation or find that kind of a job, that's really good because you do get paid medical and you do get what they call 401k.
Right.
And we were lucky in respect that the company was willing to contribute to our retirement. So we would set aside a certain amount of money, and they would match a certain portion of it. And so that was kind of one of the perks, and one of them showing their appreciation for you working and dedicating yourself to them.
So what age would you say that you really started worrying about retirement? I need to put more into it to make sure they match more. I know, normally we start with the lowest 5% or something like that. And I think for me, I'm 35. It's starting now. Should have been doing it before, but now it's oh man, I'm middle aged because people think middle age is 100. No, I'm middle aged now because I'm 30, and like I hope to get to 60. So
Well,
like,
hopefully that's not middle age.
I mean, if you think about it, I don't think 50 can be middle aged because not a lot of people live to 100. So on the statistics to the world, I think 35 to 40 is middle age, and it's like this is where I'm like, oh, I need to start like really thinking about it because I don't want to work till I'm 70.
Well, I think there used to be when I was younger, and they talked about, and what you would read about was you need to start saving when you're in your 30s.
Okay.
And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think you have to start thinking about it much younger than that.
Yeah.
And part of it is, and I think you and your dad talked about it as far as budgeting.
Right.
How much does it cost to live? And having a good understanding of that and where you are with that, if you can find a place to live, be able to make your rent, buy your food, gasoline for your car,
Right.
clothes for yourself and your children, take care of all those things. Anything extra that you have, you should be putting it away. And if you're young and you're not married, but you're thinking that you will be in the future, then you really need to seriously decide and make a plan to start saving then. I think the earlier the better.
Yeah.
Because, again, you can't count on that in a company that you work for anymore.
Right. True. So, if you could go back to any age, what age would it be and why? Or would you stay right here?
Well, I'm not done living, so
Absolutely not.
Whatever keeps me going, I guess if I could go back with what I know now, sure, and maybe like that would be better for other people too, that I came across along the way.
Well, it can't be so like such a serious conversation. So I asked a lighting, it's like you can't go back, but it's kind of entertaining. Like where would you go back and why? Or would you stay the same with what you know? Like for me, I wouldn't go back past my children because they wouldn't be born. So that's like, I couldn't go back past 2016. So I'm like, I ain't really got no wiggle room. I would like to go back to high school, but then my kids wouldn't exist. And like, okay, so.
Okay, I have to go. I guess I'd have to go back there then, which would be my early 20s because I had my kids young, like a lot of kids now that are 20, my grandkids and stuff, like I'm going.
It'd be a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It's just a random question. I ask everyone that comes on just to like what kind of question is that? It's like,
well, yeah, I wouldn't want to not have my kids.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But yeah, I think if I went back to them at that age and I, could take
the knowledge,
my knowledge and experience back with me, that would be better for me. That would be better for them.
Yeah.
And anybody else that, I came in contact with.
Right. And that's why we take this knowledge that you have because someone else can be at 20.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're listening and they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should start doing this now. Because he would go back to 20. I would go back to like 26. And with the information I know, I would apply it to my life. So the whole point of, we would go back and we would apply this information. So I just hope you guys, with a grain of salt, just, maybe take something from each episode and just try to apply it to your life. Because everyone would take the information they know now and go back before the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody would pretty much answer the same,
right?
Have the same answer.
Yeah.
But what you know now is born out of the experience that you had.
Right.
Your successes and your failures. I think people learn more from their failures than they do from their successes. You almost take your successes for granted. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that make you feel good about yourself. The things that you fail at, where you might not feel so good about yourself, those are the things that really build you.
Right. If
you take those to heart and you want to get better.
Do you think it's possible to learn from someone else's mistake, or does that person need to fail themselves? Like, do you think someone can take what we're talking about and actually learn from it, or would they have to go struggle and do the mistakes to learn from them?
I think you can learn a certain amount from other people's mistakes. My parents weren't perfect. My grandparents weren't perfect, and they were probably the most influential people in my life growing up until they were gone. And I saw them succeed, and I also saw them fail. And I think that's the gift that you receive from your parents.
Yeah.
You see their successes, and you understand where those come from, and you try to understand their failures the same way. Even if you feel that they failed you in some respects, that still teaches you something, and that's not something that you want to pass on.
Yeah. So to the person that's sitting there struggling right now, maybe depressed or going through a bad time, what would you tell them?
Don't give up. Don't ever give up. I think that's the main thing. What seems to be earth-shattering to you now, or devastating, will pass. And I think that you got to give yourself and give that opportunity the opportunity.
I like that.
And if you give up, and you really see a lot of people giving up.
Yeah.
Suicide rates are probably greater than they've ever been among the younger generations, and that's really frightening and disturbing, particularly when you have as many grandkids and great-grandkids as I do. You don't want to see them struggle or get to the point where they feel that not being here is an alternative.
Indeed. Do you have anything else you would like to say? Closing statements.
I thank you for the opportunity to talk about these things, because when you go through life, you don't really dwell on things. You don't really think about it. You just kind of put your head down sometimes, and you move through, and you go from day to day.
Yeah.
And I guess, what I would want to say is, don't take yourself or don't take life so seriously, or your desires or quests for success and money. Don't let those things deprive you from joy and happiness in your life. Always take time to smell the roses, or enjoy and appreciate what you have around you. That's really what you work for. That's really, it's not for the almighty dollar. It's not for great financial wealth or success. It's for happiness. Work towards your happiness and your joy.
I like that. Life is about trying to be happy every day, you guys. And every day is a new day to be amazing. So this concludes season 1 of the Boys to Men podcast. Thank you guys all for being along this journey. The intent with this podcast was just to put information out there to try to inspire the youth and to help them make better decisions and become the best version of themselves, so they become the person that attracts what they seek. I'm honored to have my grandpa close the season with me, and we'll see you guys next season.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect.